Okay, it looks like we're live. Make sure the camera is working. I think we should be okay. Let's see here. We'll give YouTube a moment, as usual, but please post a comment. If you can see this, let me know if you have any questions. We'll give YouTube just a second here. And I think we should be all right. Let's see. All right, and we are rolling. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today, I'm going to help you learn more about developing fluency by focusing on a particular topic. So I did another of these little, I'm calling them quick videos, even though they take longer because I'm answering questions from people. Look at that, all the Japanese people right at the beginning. Ohayou gozaimasu. Nice to see everybody there. All right, glad to see people in the chat. I'm going to try to focus myself and hopefully, so I will make sure I'm trying not to get too distracted by the comments, but I want to get through this lesson at the beginning of the video. And then as usual, if people have any questions, I will do my best to answer those. But today what we're going to do is talk about prepositions because I know people have a lot of issue with those, but I really want to show, again, the point of this new kind of series. If people enjoy it, I will make more of these, but you don't become fluent by learning a lot of vocabulary. You become fluent when you destroy the doubts that stop you from speaking, and you do that by focusing on a particular topic. Yes, Lewis says, I thought it was tomorrow. Yes, today, this is kind of a surprise lesson. I will not be doing the normal Thursday lesson. I didn't mention this on Monday when I recorded before, but today, look at that. So you get a special lesson today, but no lesson tomorrow, but you get it a day early. So look at that. Anyway, so we're going to talk about prepositions, and I took some of my my daughter's toys, and we're going to look at prepositions with these, but I really want to, again, focus. We're just going to talk a lot about how prepositions work and how you can use them in different ways so you really understand, and then if you have any questions, you can ask those as well. Remember, the focus is the key, not just learning a lot of vocabulary, but how do we answer the questions that stop us from speaking? So if you think, well, I want to say this, but I don't know if we say on or in or at or whatever. So let's look at this. So just like the previous video, we've got, I think that one I was talking about my hand. But today we're talking about prepositions, and I'll mention one more quick thing about just something to think about as you're learning. Even if a lesson, whatever lesson, it could be a video of mine or you're watching anything, you can have a particular topic that you're focusing on. So if I'm a baseball coach, for example, I might tell my child, hey, like, there could be lots of things that happen in this game, but you just focus on this one thing today, like watching the ball or trying to catch the ball or swinging a certain way. And in the same way, like I could make this same lesson and say the focus is something else, but I'm trying to direct your focus just to the prepositions like on or in or at. But just keep that in mind as you're learning, because you can really take anything you're focusing on and project that onto the lesson. So if you're watching a movie, maybe you're just listening to how people speak or their pronunciation or something, or you're focused on whatever else. Anyway, so we're talking about prepositions here, and we'll just start with some simple things. So first, I have a regular car, just a simple metal car. I don't know what color this is. It's kind of like a brass or maybe polished brown color. Interesting color, but it's a metallic, so kind of brushed, polished, a little bit sparkly actually, brown color here. And then we have a car carrier, So this is a vehicle that can carry other cars. So Lewis is asking automatic gear. I don't know if this is automatic gear or not. Like looking at the bottom, you can kind of see at the bottom of the car. You tell me. So I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about cars, but I do know how to talk about preposition. So I can't tell if this is automatic transmission or manual, but that is another thing to think about. So automatic means you don't have to change any gears. The car automatically changes that for you, but a manual transmission, also known as a stick shift. So you can ask people, hey, do you know how to drive stick, Since Lewis brought that up, I'll just give this here. This is a really good native way of saying, do you know how to drive a manual transmission car? So we just say drive stick. So can you drive stick? And again, stick just means it's like the actual little gear shift that you have to change while you're driving. So can you drive stick? That means, can you drive a manual transmission car? We talked about hands in the last video, and that's where we get another, I think Spanish is manos as well for hand, and we get manual for the same meaning in English. All right, so we have our two cars here, our car carrier, and we have our car over here, and hopefully you should know some of these basic things, but I want to connect these physical ideas with some figurative ones as well. So here we have the little car is on the car carrier. Pretty simple. So we can have the car is on the car carrier, or even in this location over here. You could say, like down here, the car is on the carrier also. All right, so we're just talking about the physical location of it. It could be, you could talk about like it's on, if you want to be more specific, on the lower level of the car, or the upper level of the car carrier. Same thing. So pretty simple. So we've got on, and now we can talk about over or above. Over or above. So both of these are fine, like the car is over the car carrier, or the car is on. So very simple, over or above, you can use both of those. And then the opposite, we can say under or below. So the car is under the car carrier here, or the car is below the car carrier. It doesn't matter if it's touching or not, but usually there's a little bit of space there when we talk about being under something else or below something else like that. So you can imagine if this is a bridge, then the car maybe is under the bridge or going below the bridge. Same idea. Now, if we want to talk about motion, so if the car is just sitting here, we have the car is on the car carrier. But if we're talking about motion, like the car is going on the car carrier over here. So you can add a verb to that and talk about where it's going. Like, is it going on, or going over, or going up? So the car, you can say right here, like the car is going up the ramp. The car is going up the ramp, and going on, or you can also say going on to the car carrier. The same thing. So the car is going up, or the car is going on to the car carrier. Now we could move the ramp, the upper ramp. So this is the lower ramp, and we have also an upper ramp. Look at that. Aren't these toys so cool? I play with these sometimes. I have a lot of fun with these with my kids. So here we go. The car is going up, or it's going on the upper. And then we can raise the upper ramp over here, and then close the lower ramp or the bottom ramp in the same way. All right. So we have on something and going on to or moving on to something else. All right. Abdo says, when can we say the car is going into? Now, good idea. So here you could say the car is going into and onto, because we're talking about, like a native would think that the slight difference in nuances is it going inside something, or are you talking about the car riding something, or just like being on a physical thing like this? So you could talk about, well, we need to drive the car carrier on, or drive the car on to or on the car carrier, but you could also talk about it being in, something like this. Now, it's a little bit tricky. A native could say both of those and you would be correct, but typically we talk about in when it's maybe a tunnel or some box or something like that it's not moving. So the car is in a tunnel. So if we imagine this is not a car carrier, not a vehicle, but just an actual tunnel, then the car is in the tunnel. So it's covered around here. You can't see the sides of it. The car is in the tunnel, just like it's inside this box over here. So here, I want you to understand that there are different ways of talking about things where it's not like there's just one correct way of saying it, but usually if there's a slight difference in nuance, it's just, are we talking about maybe the car is inside this area, so here you could say in, or are we talking about the car being on the car carrier itself? And it doesn't matter if the car is up here or here. So the car can be on the character or on the car carrier here, or the car could be on the car carrier up here. So any location on this physical thing, and it's a vehicle, so we talk about being on that as well. Nawfal just said, what about going through? So that's another, we're talking about the motion of something just like we're going through a tunnel that way. So we're talking about physical motion from one place to another that's going through some kind of object, all right? Now, before I go any further about prepositions, I said I wanted to talk about some figurative uses as well. So a literal usage just means you can see something, it's actually happening, the car is on the car carrier. Pretty simple. But we can also be on a particular topic. Like today's topic, we are talking about prepositions. So today's lesson is on prepositions. It can be just referring to anything you're talking about, or maybe we're covering something right now. But anything you're doing, like I can be on this right now. Or if it's my responsibility to do something, a friend of mine says, hey, can you go get some milk from the grocery store? And I say, sure, I'm on it. So it means I'm responsible for that thing. Like now I am doing the activity. So very useful, again, trying to understand things. And when young children, so native children, are learning things like this, they obviously learn these simple prepositions first, like the car is on the car carrier, excuse me, but they hear their parents or other people talking about, oh, I'm on the phone, in the same way. So even though the person is not physically standing on the phone, it's like what they're doing at the moment. So I'm on the phone, all right? Or what are we talking about right now? This conversation is on something, or this is a lesson on prepositions, all right? So that's one way you could talk about it. We could also talk about being about something, like this preposition, or this lesson is about prepositions, or this lesson is on prepositions as well, all right? But hopefully you're getting the idea. Usually when people are learning language, they begin with something they can see like this. It's easier, but then we also learn how we can use it in different ways. So I can be on, maybe on a phone call, or I'm talking about a particular thing, like today's lesson is on something else, all right? Pretty simple. Now, we talked about being inside and on as well, and this one, a car carrier, it's a little bit tricky because you could have the nuance of both of those things, being on something or in the car character, a car carrier. I keep calling this a car character. It's a car carrier. It even says car carrier right here. Tomika, this is a Japanese brand because I'm out in Japan. This is not sponsored, by the way, but I just thought this would be a good thing since we can show both of these at the same time. So we talked about on and over, and just like we're talking about being over something or in something, we have figurative ways of using that. So we could be, again, inside something physical, or I could be talking about being in the middle of something else, like I'm in the middle of a phone call, or in the middle of a conversation, or just in a conversation. So anytime you're talking about something being inside something else, it doesn't necessarily need to be physical. So it's more about the idea of being inside or in the middle of doing something. So I could be playing a sport, so I could be in a game. Or I could be in a meeting in the same way. Or I could be in a lesson or a class. Okay, so we're talking about something happening inside something else, just like there can be something physical, like a marker in my hand. All right, so here we would talk about the marker being on my hand, like on the top of my hand, but here it's in my hand, All right, let me go back and check comments, see if anybody has any questions that I missed. But if you are still following me and you have any questions about anything else, let me know. Let's see. So Bogdan says, hello there, George. And Silvana, nice to see you. Thank you for the class. Roll says hello. Fatima says hello. And again, we got Garizo no Chimpo, so Chimpo que mamo. Tsubasa is there. And Tom, and let's see, Methun says hello from Bangladesh. Laurent, nice to see you there. The best teacher ever. Were you too kind? If you are enjoying these and you would like more of these, again, the point is really to focus on something. It's not even just to play with toys or something, although that is a really good way to learn because you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking or even doing my usual not so good drawings on the board, but you can hear what I'm talking about and actually understand it by seeing it. All right. Natalia says, hi, super teacher. Well, hello. That's a cool little emoji there. That little what is that? It's like a star or some kind of thing. It looks very cool. Cambito says, good morning. Marceliana says, hello from Brazil. And Tom wasn't prepared for this, but now you are. Now you are here. So Danny says, good evening from Brazil. That's a very good subject, so tricky. Yes, so if you have particular questions about prepositions, or the better way to think about this is I'm in this situation or talking about this, but I don't know the correct way to say that. So let me know. Probably you know something like on something else or under something else, but hopefully I can help you understand maybe something more difficult, the way people might use it in a different context. So not just physical things like that. George says die-cast car. Yes, I think these are small little metal, part metal and part plastic, and then painted vehicles. Tomica is pretty good. It's a pretty popular, famous brand here in Japan. Fabio says hello, and Ildar again, what's up, Drew? So station or gas? You mean for the kind of car it is? All right, let's see. Today's agenda. Yes, so here we would say again on today's agenda, or for today's agenda, or you could also say in today's class. We're talking about toys, part 2. Yes. So again, when I'm learning Japanese, it's the same thing. I'd much rather see something and try to understand it in Japanese rather than just get someone to tell me a translation. All right, let's see. Alex says, hi from China, the 5th time. Welcome back, Alex. And Alao from Yemen. Miriam from Vancouver. Crypto Pigeon, that's an interesting name, from Cuba. And Palm, looks like that comment is deleted. Splinterman, could you please spell your truck car? Oh, it's called a car carrier. So we're carrying to carry other vehicles. And this one actually has the name right on it. So Tomica is just the name of the brand, and then car. Actually, this says carrier car. You kind of reverse it, but in English we would call it usually a car carrier, a car carrier. Jose said from Brazil, truck is a word that had the 2 ideas. How do you understand the simple truck is a word that 2 ideas? What do you mean, Lewis? That sounds like an interesting question, but I want to know exactly what you mean. So post another comment and let me know. Adam, teacher, if your car is broke, what name the vehicle it will move to your car to the mechanic to fix it? Good question. So that's a kind of related to this. But let's say your car, and typically the word we use for this is broke down. So my car broke down, or you could say it is broken down. And broken down is a general term for something is wrong with my car and I don't know, maybe it's an engine problem or a wheel or something. I don't know what the issue is, but it's broken down. But if you're going to get someone to take your car, usually from the road back to make like a mechanic where you can get it fixed, this is typically a tow truck. So you call a tow truck to tow something. This is the verb to pull, something like that, to tow a car. So a tow truck, I'll draw a kind of not so good picture of it, but so here's a tow truck, and usually the tow truck has some kind of crane on the back, so it has a little hook and it can move put some wheels on there as well. So it can pull your car and tow your car, just like when people are riding. Even the same kind of idea. Maybe some people have seen when you're driving, you have, let's say, here's just a van, and the van has, we call this a hitch. So the hitch is this little kind of ball part over here that we use to connect to something else, like a trailer hitch. And then you could put maybe a boat or something else over here that also has a trailer with wheels on it, so we can tow something like that. Okay, so we can tow a car, or we can tow a boat, or tow a trailer, anything like that to tow. So it's the same pronunciation as toe, like the toes on my foot, T-O-E. So that is a tow, and then tow, T-O-W, means to pull the vehicle, to tow something like that. All right, and Palm, let's say hello, teacher. How are you? I'm from Haiti. Nice to see you there. Nelson says good evening from Colombia. Tarek says good evening. And CNC, hello. I have one question. How about this preposition? The plane is over me. Yes, so that's fine. Like the plane is over you. You wouldn't want to say like the plane is on top of you unless it's actually on, physically on you. But usually over you or above you is fine. So even way up in the sky, the plane would still be over you in that way. Splinterman says, thanks a million. Tarek again, train track versus train truck. What is the difference? Oh, if you're talking about a track, now you could have, if we're just talking about physical things like a track, so the word track just means some kind of line or road or area where a vehicle would move. So we could have different kinds of tracks. We could have like a walking track or a race track, same kind of thing, R-A-C-E, a race track where dogs or people or whatever, something else, or cars could run or drive. Or we could have train tracks as well. So train tracks, it just means like this, any kind of physical thing like this where some vehicle would move along that. But we can also, again, like a person can walk on a track, or you could run on a track. All right, it just means this is a particular way you're going. And this also has the same idea of literal and figurative. So literally, we have a physical place where someone might walk, like I'm on a train track, or the train is on the train track. And in case someone has a question about pronunciation, I'll give you this over here as well. Listen to the difference of these carefully. This is track with the short vowel sound, ah, track, track. And this is the short U sound, truck, truck, truck. So track, truck, track, truck. If you're curious about any of these things, click on the link in the description below for Frederick, and it will give you all of these different kinds of combinations of letters so you can learn these sounds the same way natives do. All right, so we have a track, but here's the interesting thing. Now we can take this and talk about it in a figurative way, like a career track. So my career track. Or you could talk about I'm on track to do something. So my career track is like the path that I'm on. If I want to become a doctor, maybe the career track is going to school, learning about biology, and then I go to medical school and then become a doctor. That's a track that I'm on, just like a train is on a track. All right, so it just means like a physical or a figurative road that you might be on going from one place to another. So all of these things are very useful, and we can have many different kinds of tracks, but if you understand it now like a native, hopefully you feel more confident about using it. Good questions though. All right, let me see if I'm making sure. All right. It will, okay, I answered those already. All right, and tell me some prepositions when you need to leave your house or something like that. So if you're talking about being like inside your house or going out, so we didn't talk about in or out yet, but the same kind of thing. So I could be inside my house, like if I'm physically inside it, or I could be outside over here. And we also use in or inside or out or outside. Both of those are fine for each of these situations. So I am in my house right now. Right now I am in a room, or I am inside a room. Both of those are fine. They mean the same thing. Or I am outside, or I am outside, out, either one of those. Both of them are fine. Okay? So inside or outside. So you could talk about like which side are you on? Are you on this side or that side? Are you inside or outside? All right, lots of good questions over here. Keep these going. All right, and Miriam says a flat tire. Yes, a flat tire. This is where you have maybe a little. I'll draw a kind of funny looking tire over here. So the air, there is a hole in your tire. Here again, we use in the word in. So there is a hole in the tire. We don't say there is a hole on the tire. We talk about a hole in the tire. There's a hole in your tire, and then you get a flat tire. Flat tire. All right. And all right, yeah, Lewis, let me know if you still have a question about that. Danny, I think what Lewis is trying to say is that truck has two different meanings, maybe. Well, we can talk about carrying something like truck something. So you can use truck as a noun or a verb. So I can truck something like I have a really heavy bag that I bring everywhere. So I truck that bag with me, or I truck that bag around. So anything you're carrying, and typically when it's something big or large, just like a regular truck, would maybe carry something like that, then I would talk about carrying something typically heavy, and we would use truck for that verb, to truck something around. Novel says, can we use down for another links like the television or phone? Yeah, so that's another idea about something being down. So I didn't talk about that preposition, but we're getting there, and I guess we're just flowing through these things. Flowing through, here's that preposition through again. But we're talking about something being down. So if we have like the power being down, typically we talk about like the physical idea. The way you can think about this is, let's say we have, let me erase. If we have some power lines, so maybe we have like a telephone pole like this and another telephone pole over here, and there's a storm, and there's maybe, so here are the wires over here, but there's a lightning strike or something, and blah, it breaks the wire, so it snaps the wire, it disconnects that, and now instead of the wires being connected, they're actually kind of hanging down like this. So you can remember it this way, like, oh no, the power is down. Now we don't know if this is a specific problem. Maybe there's no real disconnection there, but there's some other issue and the power is not working. So we can talk about the power is down. So the power is down. So just like we can talk about like the power being on or off, we can talk about it being down, usually meaning there's some kind of problem with the power and it's not working. Now, we don't really talk about like the power being, you could say like the power is up again. Some people could say that, but typically we talk about the power being back, as in the power returned. So the power is back, or the power is back on. The power is back on. So the power might go down, or you could even say the power is out. Same idea. Isn't this interesting how natives can use all these different ways to describe the same thing? And so this is another important reason why we focus when we learn, because we don't want to just learn one way to say something. That's not really going to help us very much if people say something different. But if you are prepared for lots of different ways that natives might say something, you will feel much more confident and relaxed in conversations. So look, so the power is on, the power is fine, but no, now something happened, the power is off, or the power is down. So if the power is just off, usually you maybe turn a switch or flip a switch. We can talk about both of those, to flip a switch. Like if I have just something that's on or off like that, like flip the switch up or flip the switch down, like a pretty easy thing. So I can turn it on or turn it off. Even if I'm not actually turning something, when I go up and down like that, I can flip it. But look at that, now the power comes back and the power is back on, all right? Some natives might even just say the power is gone. It just disappeared, all right? So lots of interesting ways to describe this when the power goes out, when the power is out or the power has disappeared. Let's see, and let's see. Okay, I think you got that one. All right. And greetings from Peru, says Joseph. And then again, where are you from? I don't know. And I subscribed for learning, but nothing. No. What do you mean by that? I am from Chicago, though. Where are you from? You said, where are you from? You mean, where am I from? Fabio says, Drew, how do you say highway in Germany? You mean in German, like the German language? I don't know. What is a highway in German? I don't speak German. I don't know. I know how to say that in Japanese. You would say like the kol sokodoro, but I don't know how to say that in German. But I'm sure it's like a long, interesting word. I'm sure. Where's Annette? I think we have maybe one or two Germans that are watching this right now. Crypto Pigeon, what about underneath? Yes, that's another good way to describe things. So if I can bring my car carrier back up here again. So we have the car on the car character, or the car carrier, I keep saying that, or the car could be under, or below, or underneath. Both of those are fine. So underneath, the same thing. I'll write that up here as well. Under, let's make sure that fits. Underneath. So there's no difference there. Something could be under. Maybe I lose my keys or something. My keys are under the sofa, or my keys are below the sofa, or they are like underneath something. Now, I'll make one kind of, to try to help you understand, make this even a bit more clear. Let's say, here's an instance where maybe you wouldn't, or you would want to choose one or the other. So if we look at something like this, so here's the car carrier and here's the car. Now right here, this car is under, so it's right under the car carrier. It's below the car carrier, and it's also underneath. But now if we show you a slightly different angle. So right now, looking at it from this side, so the car is, like you can still see the car here is under, or below, or beneath. But right here, what do we have here? So right now, this car, it's still below, so it's kind of like below the level of this one, but it's not under it anymore. So you can see the difference where sometimes we would use below, and sometimes we would use under. But below, it just means like you can imagine a level of something like this car. It could go out, infinitely, I guess, how high or how far this level is, and anything under there. So maybe the car is at the same level, but here it is below this level. So even though the car is not under, it's not under the car carrier right now, it's still below the car carrier. See the difference? So here, it's under and below. But now it's just below the car carrier. Make sense? So the same way we can have like, the car could be above over here, but it's not over the truck, or it's not over the car carrier. So here it's above and over, but here it's just above, because it's above that level. So this is typically when people are using that, but you can see why in some situations people would use it. So this situation, this particular, look at that, like the car is under and it's also below. But here it's just below. You see the difference? Okay. So that's why the more information you get and the more examples you get, the more confident you feel about, oh, that's what something really means. All right. So this is why if you just get one example of something, or a typical lesson is not going into detail, they're not focusing on something, it becomes harder to really feel confident. But the more examples you get, your brain really starts to understand the difference, why we can say one thing and not something else. Hopefully that is helpful for people, but good questions here. So Lewis says, I talked to when is a car has a truck, but there is a truck has a truck also. A car has a truck? Are you talking about like the truck bed? Maybe you're referring to the bed of the truck. So there could be some cars that look like trucks, but in general, here is like a truck over here. A truck usually has We'll just put some extra wheels on there. This is called the cab. So this is where people sit, where the driver goes. This is the cab of the truck. And this is called the bed of the truck back here. All right? So you might have the cab. Somebody is driving in the cab of the truck, but this is the bed or the truck bed over here. All right? So a truck usually has something like this. If you don't have a bed, if it's just like this, it's basically still a truck, but you have a covered bed where you're putting things inside something else. Okay, so you can put something on the truck or in the truck in the same way. So it's a vehicle, so we can talk about being on it. And usually if you can walk into something, you can be at, like you can walk and be on an airplane, but you can't walk on a car. You would be on the top of the car, so we say you're in a car. All right. But for something like a motorcycle, you're sitting on that thing. So even though you don't really walk on a motorcycle, we're sitting on a motorcycle like we would sit on a horse or sit on a bicycle in the same way. But you can see, just like this car carrier here, we can describe being in that thing, so inside this space, but also on this space. So this car, as I mentioned before, so the car is on the car carrier, but it's also in the car carrier, physically where it's located here. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's keep going here. Lots of good questions. I'm trying to keep up with everybody over here, but this is interesting. These lessons always go in unexpected directions, just like a regular conversation would. All right, Novel says, can we use broke down for another things like television or phone? Yes. So we can talk about, like, usually broke down is talking about physical parts that are moving. So if we have a truck, there's an engine and parts are moving around in the inside of that, so something is broken down. But typically a phone, like an iPhone, I don't think it has moving parts. I think actually the newer iPhones, or for the past few years, they don't have any moving parts in them. So we wouldn't really say it broke down, we just say it's not working. So we don't know why it's working, but again, typically people are using broke down for a physical thing. So a television might be broken down, or a phone could be broken down, but usually, like, something that's broken down, it's a physical object and something that has physical moving parts inside of it. Let's see. Allah says, into, when we talk about something has been inferred or thrown, and the same about onto, but a different position. Yeah, like into and onto, you don't have to throw something, but it is talking about movement in some way. So if we have, like, the car is on, right now I'm not touching the car is on the car carrier. But I could take the car off or put the car on, so I could move it here. Like, I could place the car on the car carrier, or I could put the car, or I could set the car on the car carrier. All right? So if I'm moving something, like moving it onto or into something else, then that's where I'm talking about. The to part is talking about motion or some kind of movement. All right? So I could move onto something or go onto something, or I could throw something as well. All right, but it's not only for that. So we could use it in different ways. So moving it on to something else. And let's see, Danny says, underneath. Nice. I knew this word, but I didn't know how to use it. Yes, so it just means under something else. But hopefully you understand now the difference. Like, this hand is under this one, but now it's not. But this hand is still below this hand. Okay, so you could think about, there's a kind of a line or a space here. This hand is below this hand. Now it's above this hand. But it's not over this hand right now. So over, not over. But it's still above. So this hand is above something else. So one person could be, like, at a higher level than someone else. They could be above that person, but maybe not over that person. Like people working in a company in the same way. So Fabio says the Autobahn. Oh yeah, that's right. So I think it's Autobahn, right? Isn't it, like, now this is probably going to be a mistake since I am not a German. I think it's B-A-H-N. Is that correct? Autobahn. It's not barn. I don't I don't think that's correct, but I think it's like BAHN, Autobahn. But anybody can please correct me if that is not the case. But I'm pretty sure it's not Autobarn. Thank you, teacher. You are the best, says Crypto. Glad to hear it. So this is between. Yes, so you've got like one red car in between two, I guess maybe those are some police cars, some cop cars. English at night, back again. Just because you go abroad doesn't mean you won't be able to get fluent. Correct. So if you're talking about like living abroad, so I lived in Japan for a year and still couldn't speak fluently. And I know people today who have lived in Japan longer than me, like 30 years or 40 years, and they still don't feel confident speaking Japanese. So being in a location doesn't guarantee fluency. But if you understand the language like a native, that's when you have the confidence to speak. So that's why I focus on that, and I remind people you don't need a speaking partner to get fluent. You just need to really feel confident by getting lots of examples of the native language so that you really understand how natives understand it. And you're not thinking about it through translations. Crypto says, when going to be the next class? You would say, when is the next class, or when will the next class be, or when is the next class going to happen? There are different ways you could say that, but probably next Thursday, maybe next Wednesday. I think there is probably not a class on or a lesson on Monday, I believe. But there are lots of other videos of mine that you have probably not seen, so enjoy those. E. McGraw says, that was very helpful. I've learned to use under and below. Thank you, teacher. Glad to hear it. Yes. So once you can see the difference, it clicks in your head. So I call that a fluency trigger, where you feel, oh, I actually understand that thing now, and I feel more confident about using it. So that's why, again, it's important to look at times where maybe you could say something is the same, but sometimes when it's not. But then you really understand the difference. CNC BMX again. Okay, this preposition is very common, but I think it is a little complicated too. Yes, typically to is just talking about a direction, something. So if I'm here, I'm giving a message to you, or I'm giving a present to you. It just means that's the direction that the thing is moving in. So it could be to this place or to that place, or where are you going, something like that. We're talking about the physical place or the physical direction, or even the figurative direction. So I could be giving you a message, sending a message to you, same thing. And that's why we talk about like on to. So I could talk about like this car going on to. Here's, we open up our car carrier. I think maybe someone was asking about the spelling, but this is how you spell it, C-A-R-R-I-E-R. So it just means to carry something. I think I wrote that earlier. But this car is going on. We could say it's just going on the car carrier, or on to the carrier, on to the car carrier. Both of those are fine, all right? In the same way, we can talk about going in or going into. Both of those are fine. So we're just talking about motion from one place to the other. And typically we understand from the context. You can see the car actually going on or going on to, and they mean the same thing. So this situation is going on or on to, same idea. All right. So anything also, I think Palm also just had a good point there about on. So on, it doesn't only mean on the top of something. And this is why people will often use on top of, because on could also mean stuck on a different part of something else. Here, I could even say, like, let's say this car is kind of holding on. It's on the car carrier, but it's under here, but right now it's kind of stuck on the bottom of it. So I could still say, oh, the car is on the car carrier. So it's still on the car carrier physically. So this is on the car carrier, this is on the car carrier, this is on the car carrier as well. So anytime something is kind of stuck on something, or like I could have something on my face, like, oh no, there's something on my face. But it could be up here, the car is on my head. The car is on my head. The car is on my head. Or I could be more specific, the car is on my ear, the car is on my nose, the car is on my chin. All right. So the important thing is not like the location. It's more about touching that thing, and it could be even below or under that thing if it's still touching. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So don't worry about it like only being just on something. And typically that's why people might say like, oh, the car is on the car carrier. Now, if I don't know, maybe I can't see it, I say, oh, where exactly? Someone might say, oh, it's on top of the car carrier, or on the side of over here. So on top of the car carrier, on the back of the car carrier, on the front of the car carrier. So we could be more specific, but all of these things are still on. All right. So again, there are different ways to express things, but the more examples you get, the more confident you feel about how they work. Let's see. And Joseph says, could you make more prompts for ChatGPT, please? The video made on that was very helpful for me. Well, think about what are some specific things you're interested in? What would you like to be able to talk about? So for that prompt, I made a video about telling ChatGPT how you want it to teach you, and this is using some naturally varied reviews. So telling ChatGPT to explain something like a native, so explaining something the way a native would get it, like an elementary school, maybe 10-year-old child would learn something, but also to get lots of examples. So if you'd like to watch that video, you can search my channel for ChatGPT. Hiker Fan says, I work upgrading commercial vans interior for the most part. Wow, that's an interesting job. So you kind of maybe design things or build things for vans. I would like to do that job too. That sounds like a lot of fun. I like kind of designing things and figuring out how to use spaces, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's an interesting job. Real Check says, screw up meaning, because I have understood what you please to screw something up. Typically screw something up, to screw up. So we have like a screwdriver. I'll draw a big picture of it here. So a screw usually looks like this, and it's got, something. We use a screwdriver to twist that screw and put it down into some wood. So you can have a minus or a plus like that. And when you screw something down, you're closing it, or screwing something up, you're actually removing it. Typically, we talk about like screw or to unscrew something. But this term here, this is a phrasal verb meaning to make a big mistake or to cause a problem, to screw something up. So when we talk about screwing, it's kind of twisting something in a way. And so I could take something and cause a lot of confusion where in lots of situations, maybe I'm supposed to have a meeting and I call the wrong people. And so a bunch of people come to this meeting, but they're the wrong people. So I screwed up the meeting, or I screwed up the plans. Or I could screw up anything, like a physical thing. I'm supposed to put this machine over here and I connect some parts the wrong way. Yes, so Satish, it just means to make a mistake, but usually a pretty big mistake. All right, so you messed something up. All right, you screwed up. Oh no, I screwed up. So if I screw up this lesson, it means I wasted your time and didn't teach you anything. that would be me screwing up my job. It would be like causing a lot of problem for people, or like just making some kind of big mistake. Lewis says again, car carrier. How do you spell? Yes, you spelled that correctly. So again, it's just carry. So C-A-R-R-Y, to carry something, but it is a car carrier. So a car carrier, C-A-R-R, and then the Y becomes I-E-R, car carrier, a car carrier. So you could really carry anything. You could have a wood carrier, or another machine carrier, or some kind of other carrier, but a car carrier specifically is this vehicle, and usually it's carrying a bunch of cars, maybe, so this one you can actually load many cars onto this. I only brought one car, but we could do a marker carrier as well. So I put my markers on here. Here's one marker. Okay, we close the bottom, I put another marker on top, and now we have a marker carrier. Same kind of idea, a marker carrier, all right? So in the same way, we have a physical thing here, like my marker carrier. I could also have like an idea carrier, So the people maybe I'm teaching you and you understand something now. You are an idea carrier, a money carrier. Yes, to carry anything, just moving it from one place to another. So anytime I carry something, like I am a bag carrier, but often we use this, it's the same idea. Usually you will see this ER for someone or something doing an object, or excuse me, doing some kind of job. So again, like a teacher is the same way. So I could teach something, I become a teacher, a teacher. All right, pretty simple, same idea. So a car carrier is also carrying things. Let's see. So I think palm, yes, I was answering that before. So on the mirror, or in the mirror, or into the mirror. So I don't have a mirror with me, but you can, let's just draw a mirror over here. So if, let's say there's something on the mirror itself, I'm probably talking about the physical surface, like, I don't know, there's some kind of stain or something. But when I look into the mirror, I can say look in or look into. It's the same idea, just like a window. So I could look in the window or look like out of, but I'll save the window example for a moment. But for right now, when you're looking in a mirror, you can look in, or you can look into. Both of those are fine. So we're talking about the motion or where our eyes are going. So I'm looking in. I can also talk about looking at a mirror. Both of those are fine. All right, so we got on, or in, or into, or even at for all of these things. And we typically, I'm going to draw it in kind of a 3D way, so you can think about how a mirror works. This might not be the best picture, but let's imagine a mirror like this, and we're going to kind of draw it out and draw it back that way. So when I'm kind of looking, I'm looking. It's almost, you could even also talk about like through, in a figurative way. But if I'm looking at the mirror, I could also be looking through it, because the image of me or the other things in this room, it's the other side of the mirror. It looks like it's almost like a tube, and it gives us a 3D space. So that's how we can look at something. It's a regular flat, so 2D, like a two-dimensional object. It's just got the height and the width over here. So that's 2D. So 1D, we get 2D, but 3D, we're actually going kind of deep or back into the mirror at the same time. So here, if I'm looking into the mirror, it's like I'm kind of looking through the mirror, but actually kind of going across or like that, but it's taking up this whole space. So that's why natives could talk about looking in the mirror, or looking into the mirror, or looking even at, or looking kind of on, or even upon. You'll hear this, like looking upon the mirror. This is kind of an older English expression. People don't really say upon, to look upon a mirror, but if you listen to maybe an old Disney like Sleeping Beauty, like, oh, let me look upon, to look upon something, it just means looking on or looking at something. All right? So anyway, so this is a 3D. We've got the width, the height, and then the depth as well. So how deep does it go? So how deep does the mirror go when you look into the mirror, So good questions, but this is why there's like a slight difference in nuance. Are you talking about the surface of something, or are you talking about the reflection, and it actually seems like there is more space there? So you could be looking at a mirror or in a mirror, and the same thing. And let's see. All right, as it says, guys, let's show appreciation for the great lessons by liking the video, which is the least we can do. You know, I like that it's a common expression in English. First of all, thank you very much for saying so. But when people say it's the least I could do, actually the least you could do is just nothing. It's like, I guess technically doing something is it's the least I could do. Like, yeah, I don't really need to do anything, but I make that joke sometimes. So let's say my dad, he's like talking with me about something, and I say like, do you need any help or something? And he's like, no, it's okay. I say it's okay. I'm not going to help you anyway. That's the least I could do. So the least I could do is actually to do nothing. That would be really the least you could do. But yes, if you enjoy the video, do click on the like button. It is easy to do that. Let's see, where did I... All right. Learn English with Meta says high school and middle school. Yeah. Adams is in the moon. So in the moon, under, on, under, carrier. So if you're talking about the moon, this is another 3D object. It's, you can imagine like, we're going to kind of draw the moon like this. Imagine a ball out in space. So you could be like here. Let me use my, I don't know what happened to my, somebody took my little, that's weird. I had some magnets over here. Anyway, you can imagine a person, and remember what I mentioned before about on. So this person, if we imagine this cap, this marker cap over here, it could be on the moon at any location on the surface of the moon, the surface. So just like your face, we have the surface of the moon here. So I could be on the moon, on, anywhere on the outside, on the surface of the moon. But if I'm in here, somewhere within the moon, then I am inside the moon, or in the moon. Let's see. And so car upon the car carrier, can I use that too? Yeah, you could say the car is upon the car carrier, but it sounds kind of like old English. So like, yes, like the marker is upon the car carrier. If I use some kind of older English talking about that, but we would typically just say on. All right, so maybe an older movie or a story would use the word upon, but it's like up on something. That's where we get that idea. But like to talk about being upon something, people don't really use that so much other than kind of old stories. So people will say once upon a time. So a long time ago, once, like this one thing happened once upon a time at the beginning of stories like that. And all right, so Sadish says screwed up equals ruin something. Yes, that is correct. Let's see if I missed anybody. Jefferson says, good evening, teacher. I'm home from work. Now I'm going to watch your live. Welcome. Joseph says, what should I do after the aha moment? I mean, how should I practice writing the sentences or something else? Well, it's up to you. The doubt is really what tells you what you should do next. So let's say I learn a word and I feel very confident about using it, but maybe I'm still uncertain about the pronunciation or some other use or something like that. If I'm uncertain at all, then that uncertainty tells me what to do next. So if you feel very confident about it, then move on to something else that you have doubt about. All right, it's up to you. So don't worry about like having to do a specific thing. It's just what are you uncertain about, or maybe what will be the next thing that you are thinking about next. So E. McGraw, I love this class. Glad to hear it. Click that like button. Palm on the beat says, I'm looking on the mirror or in the mirror or into the mirror. I want to know, sir, are they all correct? Yes. So you could say like looking on the mirror, but typically natives will say I'm looking in the mirror or I'm looking into the mirror. All right. So looking into the mirror is more like I'm looking at myself in the mirror. But if I'm just looking at the mirror, I'm kind of staring at the surface of the mirror rather than the reflection. So there's a slight difference there in the meaning, but natives are generally talking about what you're looking at. You're not really looking at the mirror, you're looking at the picture in the mirror. And the mirror, and again, it kind of looks like a 3D thing when you look inside it. So that's why we talk about looking in a mirror rather than looking at a mirror. But both of those are correct. The meaning is just a little bit different. So Splendor Man says in front. Yes, you could talk about in front of something as well. So I'm looking at the mirror. So remember, if I look at a mirror, maybe I could even be looking at the mirror from the side, and it's not, I'm not looking at myself. I'm just looking at the mirror and maybe like, oh, this is a very pretty mirror. I like the design of this mirror. So I'm looking at the mirror. But if the focus is myself, I'm looking at my picture or something, like my image or something else reflected in the mirror, then that's what I'm talking about. So I'm looking in the mirror, trying to see something like that. Novel says, I tell ChatGPT to repeat the vocabulary that we started in new sentences so that this method, the words stick in my memory. Yes, so that's called getting naturally varied review. So ChatGPT, like I have to teach ChatGPT what naturally varied review is. But if you just say, give me lots of different examples and change the contexts, then ChatGPT will understand what to do. Sadio says, hi, bro. I'm part of your class, and first day I want to ask you how many classes in a week and what time of days. If you're just talking about here on YouTube, maybe we do 1 or 2 of these a week, sometimes more or less. But if you're looking for actual classes and you want to just get a step-by-step system that will get you fluent automatically, guaranteed, just click on the link in the description below this video to learn more about Frederick and Fluent for Life. Jefferson says, teacher, these strategies to learn are very good. Keep doing it. Thank you very much. Yes. Well, I've been doing this for over 20 years, so I'm pretty good at it now, I think. But it's actually pretty easy to do, and this is what most parents are doing when they teach their own kids. The point is, can I help you understand English in English, and then can we focus on things until you really feel confident about saying them? All right. I don't want to just teach you English. I really want you to think, oh, I actually understand this, and I can feel confident saying it. All right, Hiker says, this class is amazing. Let's carry the absorbing knowledge. Real Chak says, so through means when you see something from a certain angle. Well, it's more like it's hard to see with a mirror, but imagine like I can kind of look through this marker as well. If this marker is just like where I could look through like my hands in that same way. Like you could look through my hands. So I'm looking through something, and a mirror is like that because it's reflecting kind of the one side and the other side. So it's a flat thing, but it looks like it has depth. So that's why we're talking about looking through a mirror. All right, so it's kind of a figurative understanding. It's a flat surface, and you don't actually go inside it. But that's the interesting thing about a mirror. Actually, if you want to see some interesting things with mirrors, if you have not seen this already, there are videos on YouTube about animals seeing mirrors, and they think, oh, that's like it's not me. It's like it's a different, like another animal, another bear, or something like that. So there's some interesting videos of animals seeing themselves in mirrors and how they think about that. So most animals are not able to recognize themselves. But if you have like a lot of the great apes, I think, so like a gorilla or an orangutan could, they know it's like, wait a minute, that's me I'm looking at, so they recognize it's a mirror. All right, let's see, Palm again. Thanks so much, Drew. I'm very satisfied. Glad to hear it. Yes, tell some other people, hey, come watch this video so they can get satisfied as well. And again, Learn English with Matt says, I love there's an English lesson occurring in a chat room for something unrelated. I genuinely love this. Have a great night. Glad to hear it. Look up on a star. So in that case, we're using kind of an older, expression of like look upon a star. So this is where we get this, like when you wish upon a star, to look upon a star, that same thing, like to look on that thing. We don't really say look on, but it's like kind of an older way of expressing this. And people don't really we don't really use upon in that way in general conversations, unless you're trying to be very dramatic, or I'm talking to my wife, I say, oh, I'm looking upon your beautiful face or something like that, rather than just say I'm looking at you. So it's kind of a slightly older but more elegant way of saying it, but people don't use it very much. You'd say begin from 7 or begin at 7. You can say both of those, like it starts from 7 or starts at 7, and you will hear both of those expressions. Or you can even just say like from 7 or at 7. Splendor Man says look at or on your car carrier. So I could look on that thing, but typically I'm like looking directly at that thing. And looking at just means where is the direction, where are my eyes looking? So I'm looking at you, or looking at the car carrier, or looking at something else. And I have a new one, about. Yes, about, it just means like this is the topic or the subject. Like, so today we are talking about this marker. So we're not like talking on the marker. I'm like, the conversation is just, what can you explain about this thing? And about, it just means general, like not a specific thing. But in the case of like a lesson about a marker or talking about that, like today's lesson is about prepositions. So we're talking generally about something, but we can also mean about, like it's around me in a general area. So if I am standing here, there's me and my hands and my legs over here. This area generally around me, you can also call this kind of like it's about. Like there's some trouble about. So it means there's something around or something happening in this general area close to me. There's some trouble about. Trouble about. So something happening around in a particular area. Is there a difference between up and upon? So up, like if you're talking about the direction, it's not like a difference between a word or another word. It's just more what contexts do you use things in. And so I gave the example before about under and below. So sometimes you can use both of those, and sometimes one is appropriate while another is not. And so if you're talking about like just going up, like I'm going up in a particular direction, maybe the car or a rocket or a balloon is going up, or I can just talk about something being up even if it's not moving, like it's higher up. Let's say I have a friend of mine has there's a shelf with some different toys or something like that on it, and he says, oh, where is the doll? And I say, it's on the shelf. He says, oh, here? I say, no, up, like up higher. So here it just means, like the doll is maybe sitting over here, but I can just say, oh, it's up, like from where you are or where you're looking, it's up here, so at a higher level. So something could be moving up or just at a higher level. But upon just means something is on something else. So it's on something. So on and up on are slightly different things. All right, make sure we get through all these. Rocket is buried in the moon or on? Well, to be buried would mean inside something else. So you would be buried in the ground or buried in the moon. Or if I punch you and my fist is like buried in your face, like it's really like, oh, it's like stuck in there. I've got like, oh, my finger is like buried in my nose, like that. Or in my ear, something. So you don't like bury something on top. Bury means it's inside something else. All right. Yes, let's see. Setter says, okay, I got that one. All right. Essence, sir, could you please go over the word related to the window example? Okay, yes, correct. I forgot to go back to the window example. Let me see exactly what you're asking for. So do we look out the window, look through the window, the bird flew out the window, flew through the window, etc.? Yeah. I actually made another video specifically talking about windows, but it's an interesting example where when you think about it like a native, it's looking at all these slight differences in the situation. So let's say this is me. I'll draw this here, and so this is me. I'm inside my house. And this is outside the house over here. So I'll put a sun over here and a tree, some other things outside. So this is inside. Right now we are inside, and this is outside. So if I'm looking at the window, when I'm looking at the window, the window itself is the subject of my viewing. So, I'm looking at the marker, I'm looking at the window. I'm not like looking at anything else, beyond the window. I'm just looking at the window itself. It's like, ooh, like this window has a really nice wood or a nice design. So I'm looking at the window itself. Now, if I'm looking through the window, it's like, ooh, I'm looking through the window at the tree. So I'm always looking at something but maybe my vision is going through something else. So I gave you the example before of like looking through my finger. So right now, if you're looking through, you can see me. You're looking through my hands right here. You see me? You're looking through that, so you can see my eye. So you're looking at my eye, but you're looking through my hands. All right? So the same thing with the window. So just imagine instead of my hands like this, it's a bigger space, and you're looking through that to see something else. So you're looking through the window to see the sun. All right? So it's a similar idea to looking through a mirror or looking into a mirror. But like, so it's still a 3D, three-dimensional space. So I'm inside, and there's a wall here with a hole in it, the window, and then there's something outside that I'm looking at. So we have this whole area, and that's how I'm looking through a window. All right. Now, I could also be like from my perspective, excuse me, if I'm inside the house, here I would say I'm looking out. All right. Even if I'm not talking about looking at a particular thing, I'm still looking out at something. So I'm looking out the window, or I'm looking through the window. All right. So I'm looking through the window either way. I could be standing out here, or I could be standing in here, and I'm still looking through the window. But from my perspective, I'm inside the house, so I'm looking out the window. But over here, I'm outside the house, so if I'm looking in the window from the outside. Okay? So that the idea is not just about the window itself, it's your relationship with the window. Are you looking at the window itself? Are you looking through it at something else, or are you just looking through the window in general? So right now I'm looking through a telescope. So I'm not looking at anything, I'm maybe just looking through it. But I could be looking through and looking at something. So I'm looking through the telescope, and I see another boat out there. So I'm looking through the telescope, and I'm looking at a boat. So here with the window example, I'm looking out the window if I'm inside. And if I'm outside, I could be looking in. So if I'm like a burglar and I'm coming to check inside your house, like, I'm looking, like the burglar is outside, we'll just kind of draw a bad looking guy over here. He's looking in. Look at that, he's got his hands up here on your window. He's looking in the window. He's also looking through the window. But he's not looking out the window because he's already outside. Okay, so all of these things are correct. The point is, are you saying the right thing for your nuance or for your situation? All right, let's get through these last couple, because we could go on and on with all this. Let's see. So I think I answered that one. About Splinterman says, thanks for your effort, Palm. 20 years, that's a long time. It is a long time. But I've gotten very good at it, and I've gotten better over the years at explaining what I do. So I'm actually working on a new guide that helps people really understand the whole process of how fluency works. So I think it's probably the best guide I've ever written about this. But it's taken me a really long time because I have to make sure people can understand it, and it's not too confusing, because I can talk for a long time if I need to. Joseph says, thank you so much for these lessons, Drew. It's my pleasure. Do click the like button, and if you'd like to learn more, if these are helpful for you, you will enjoy Fluent for Life even more, because it's not just me explaining things. You also get to hear lots of examples of natives talking about the same vocabulary. So I want to learn Norwegian because I want to do an academic exchange. How would you start learning from scratch? Well, I would watch examples of Norwegian kids shows and get books in Norwegian for kids. So if you want to understand Norwegian in Norwegian, and that's what I recommend. Roundabout, that's another good example from E. McGraw. A roundabout, like you have a physical roundabout, or it also means like to do something kind of going around something else. I know we could cover every single preposition here, but we would be here all day, and I'm trying to keep these lessons actually quite short. But now this is just getting, it's a really long lesson, but hopefully you find this valuable. Zhang says, hi teacher, I'm coming. Well, come on over. So around and around, what's the difference? So around and surround. Around, that's another good question here. So around is that same idea before. Like I could have a general area around myself. So just like a circle, it's kind of like this, something around, like something I'm looking for, something, it's around here somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but in this general area, it's around here. But to surround something usually means that there's something coming from many different sides, and they are covering the whole thing. So my hand is surrounding the marker. It's kind of covering up the whole thing. And this one, if I do it in 3 dimensions, I could cover the top and the bottom of the marker as well. So to surround something. Or if we have some bad guys, some criminals in here, some bank robbers, and the police are around them like this, we say, oh, the police said, we have you surrounded. So we are all around you. So anytime something is surrounding you, it just means it could be many different things that are all covering or protecting or something like that, like a shirt. So this shirt is surrounding my chest. All right. So it could be one thing, or it could be many different things that are working together to cover something like that. And Raul says, I'm about to lose my mind. Well, there you go. Be careful over there. All right, curious question. In Japan, you talk with other people always in Japanese or sometimes in English? Typically with Japanese people, it's only Japanese. But sometimes I will, if somebody speaks some English to me, I will speak English with them. Elder says, Drew, when you try to sing, it cracks me up. Yes, you would say cracks me up. That's the to crack up. To crack up. We wouldn't say crack down, but I get what you're saying. But the expression is to crack me up. Yes, people don't typically come here for my singing. I'm not the best singer. But years ago, I was in a choir, so singing with some other kids. Yeah, it was a long time ago, though. But that was when I had a higher a higher voice. But now I don't have much range with my voice, so I can't go very high or very low. All right, thanks a lot. And Cool says it's CNC BMX, and your artwork is on point. Yes, I try. I mean, basically, I want to make it clear, but hopefully you understand what I'm talking about without me drawing a lot of details. That's why in Frederick, we really want to make sure it's easy for people to understand, so we just use very simple, like stick figures and things like that. So we try to make it very simple and easy for people to understand. But yes, I know it's not beautiful art. And Jinze says, great course, very helpful and vivid. Glad to hear. English at night. This is not related to the lesson, but how did you feel when you first went to Japan, convenience store in Japan? I don't know. I didn't feel anything. It's like the same as a convenience store in the United States. I mean, even 7-Eleven is from the United States and in Japan. So crack up, yes. So you would say, like, you are making me laugh, like you are cracking me up. So you can think about a person, and part of this, like, it might not be the actual story of where the vocabulary comes from, but I like to tell these stories just to help you understand the vocabulary better. So if you imagine a person, as usual, as my drawing is not going to be very good, but it will be quick. I'll give you the drawing quick. So imagine a person sitting here like this, and they're listening to me talk, but then I say something funny, and suddenly they're like, like they start moving. It's almost like I put cracks into them, so they were kind of, just making a regular face, but now like they start moving around in a funny way. I've cracked them up. So you can think about that person. They were kind of one way about like maybe, like let's say even someone has a serious face and they're not moving, they're just, but then I make them laugh and so I cracked them up. So a person would say like, oh, you are, or you cracked me up. So you are cracking me up. So it's like I'm causing cracks in that person. So they used to be like just standing there or something. They're not laughing. They're controlling themselves, but now I made them laugh. And I cracked them up, to crack someone up. So crack, and typically, again, like a cracking up, like breaking up, it's the same thing where you take something and put it into different pieces. Be on point. What does it mean? Well, hopefully you should first see if you can guess from the example. It's probably not so clear in that example because maybe someone could be saying my writing is or my drawing is good, or they could be saying my drawing is bad. But to be on point typically means you're doing something very well, to be on point. But in this case, you can use it in a sarcastic way where you're actually saying it's not very good and you're jokingly saying that it's very good. So there's different things, but typically on point means to do something well. You're on point with something, or like you're like doing it exactly as you should be doing it. Finn Part says, what's the difference between as a matter of fact and by the way? Well, those are two different things. I'll cover them anyway just because these are common expressions, but they're not really related to prepositions specifically. But by the way is when you're trying to transition a conversation. So I'm talking about this thing. I'm talking with my friend. Hey, yesterday I went to the chocolate store. It was really good. Oh, by the way, now I'm switching the conversation to talk about something else. By the way, my sister is getting married. So I just remembered, maybe there's no connection to these things at all. Like it's just, I'm changing the topic of the conversation. So by the way, all right. So you can think about it. It's like a byway is a different direction. A byway. So I was moving here, but now I'm going to take a different direction. So it's like we're going to take a byway over here, a different place. So by the way, here's some other thing unrelated to what we're talking about. Maybe it's related, maybe it's not, but I'm changing the subject in some way. By the way, all right? So the chocolate factory was delicious. By the way, so I'm thinking, I just remembered, by the way, my sister is getting married. I know some people tell me not to hold in the sneezes, but yeah, whatever. I don't want to get my microphone all messed up. All right. So the other expression was as a matter of fact, I believe. Fact, F-A-C-T. So as a matter of fact, so these two phrases here are not related. They don't mean the same thing. So as a matter of fact is typically what we say when we add more information, or we're going to give more detail, or we're going to share some kind of fact, F-A-C-T, as a matter of fact. Or I could just say in fact. So as an example, I might say something like, yesterday I was in school and the temperature was really hot. And then I could say, actually, as a matter of fact, or another person could even add something onto that, like, as a matter of fact, it was really hot. The air conditioning was broken. Okay, so I'm going to share some additional information that maybe is true, or should be true, or it's some kind of factual information about something that adds something else. So I wouldn't use by the way like to connect these things. It's two different things. All right. So by the way, click the like button. By the way, thinking about something related to that. All right, thank you again, or thank you for explaining again, says Zoe. It's my pleasure. Etza says, I was there before and the feeling was overwhelming. I wasn't used to buying cold food and using the microwave to heat it up. Bless you a little because you weren't sneeze. Aha. Fall into the cracks, I thought that expression. Yeah, so that's another thing I taught in maybe a month ago. I talked about like falling through the cracks. That it doesn't have anything to do with these though. And Jins or Jinze says, I am wondering how to call a female stranger politely before a conversation. Lady, madam, is there a word fit for all? Like, usually we would just like for a younger woman, just say miss, and maybe like ma'am for an older woman. So maybe like under 25 years old, you can just say miss, and over, I don't know, with women you can get like, maybe for, It would depend on who I'm talking to, because sometimes I can use miss for like a 40-year-old woman or even older than that if I don't know, like I don't want to make them angry by saying ma'am, like maybe they think that's like I'm not old or whatever. Women get angry about that, whatever. But in general, it'd be like miss and like ma'am, like ma'am. We don't usually say madam. That's kind of a, I don't know, it's like an older English expression. But typically miss for younger women and ma'am for older women. Moose says hi, and Zoe Clark again with a bunch of hearts. Thank you very much. All right, well, this is supposed to be fluent in 15 minutes, but we've gone 84 minutes for this video, but hopefully you have enjoyed it. Just like a regular conversation, you never know where things will go. Maybe you can be talking about something else, and then by the way, the conversation goes into many different unexpected ways or locations or whatever. But hopefully you have enjoyed this. Again, the point of this video is really to demonstrate the power of focus. I don't want to teach you a bunch of random vocabulary, even though we do have a few questions about that. But it's really to help you understand when we do focus on something, that's when you really develop fluency, because the focus allows you to answer the questions you have or eliminate the doubts that stop you from speaking. So I recommend you go back and watch this video again. You will definitely notice more things. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, when you are focused on a particular thing, like in this video, you just think, today I'm going to listen for prepositions like on or into or at, and there will be many times I use things where I'm not specifically teaching it. But you will hear the examples, and if you really listen for those things, you will recognize them, and you will feel much more confident that you understand them better. Zara says, hi, Drew, is actually same with literally. No. I mean, actually is just like this is actually a marker or an eraser, excuse me, it's actually an eraser. But literally is typically when we're talking about literally versus figuratively. Like he was literally 20 feet tall. So in that case, I'm using literally incorrectly, which means, but people use it in a kind of joking way like that. So he was actually 20 feet tall if a person is actually 20 feet tall. Like that's the height they really are. But if I just say, oh, it's really a guy that just looks pretty tall. So I'm not actually saying that he's, or saying that he's literally, or actually. In that case, like you could use it in that way, but you will hear it used incorrectly often. I think I made a video before about those kinds of mistakes that people make. Let's see, it says, thank you very much, George. Nice to see you there again. Thanks, Drew. Very good class. Good class. Let me know if you would like other things that you're specifically struggling with. So if you like this kind of format where we go a little bit faster, but we stay focused on a particular topic. I don't always have to bring some toys with me, but I notice, it's easier for people to understand things when I can show you that thing working. But I'm just trying to make sure it's easy for people to understand, so you eliminate the doubts that stop you from speaking. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, click the like button, and just put a comment down if you have any questions about things. I do go back and read those. I might not answer every question. We do get a lot of questions, but I do my best to go back and take a look at everybody. And then I will see you, I guess, next week if you join us in the next video. All right, E. McGraw says, thank you so much, teacher. I enjoyed this class very much. Thank you for accepting the call on teaching us up here on the platform around the world. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I enjoy teaching, but I enjoy even more seeing people get those aha moments where they understand things. Have a fantastic day. If you'd like to get more and have me actually guide you to fluency along with all of the other natives in Fluent for Life, you can click on the link in the description below this video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.